The second round of GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is upon us here in Austin, Texas, at Circuit of the Americas. It's overcast and relatively cool right now for qualifying, but that's very much a temporary condition with some Texas heat expected by race time. Hello and welcome to COTA. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pits as we get ready for the second qualifying session of the season for GT World Challenge America. Calvin, as mentioned, only 75 degrees in the air right now, 82 degrees on track, but look at that humidity. That's expected all day long, and the temperatures should soar by the afternoon.
Yeah, you can certainly cut the humidity with a knife right now. It's very thick out there, but certainly a lot cooler conditions. Those track temperatures will be significant here in this qualifying session. I expect some really fast lap times to come from these two sessions. And there's also a little tweak to the regulations where you have to use these qualifying tires for each driver's segment in the race, and that will mean they may try to minimize how many laps they put on these tires in this qualifying session here this morning.
That's the voice of Calvin Fish. We mentioned earlier Amanda Busick would be in the pits, and that's where we find her here this morning. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, guys. It's time to kick off day 3 of the Cielo Vision GT World Texas, powered by Samsung event here in Austin, Texas. And it is time for qualifying for GT World Challenge America. I saw Hampus Eriksson jumping rope this morning. I saw Derek DeBoer stretching out. Also saw Robbie Foley walk into his car, and he said exactly what you said, Calvin. We're going to see some of the fastest times of the weekend for this class, saying that there's going to be a ton of grip out of there with rubber and also with cooler temperatures. But he also told me this is the Mercedes that everyone is chasing. You'll see Mackay Stevens behind there getting ready to go out for his first stint for the combined qualifying time. We'll see, and Michael Grenier will finish it off as driver number 2. I was just saying that Robbie Foley said that you guys are the one that everyone's chasing, and I've heard that from multiple drivers here this weekend. Is that a target or a compliment?
Maybe both. Yeah, it's been going well so far. We improved the car from last year, actually. The car is doing well as well, but as we saw in Sonoma, could be some different strategy in the race, so we have to wait and see. And I think the Porsche will be quick. I think Robbie will be quick in the race as well.
Will we see different strategy from you guys?
We'll see. I mean, now it's a bit more straightforward as we have to do 3 full stops, which in Sonoma I think was only 2, so it might change a bit, but yeah, we'll see.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, you heard Mikhail there referencing the change in the regulations. You touched on one part of it earlier, Calvin, with the drivers now required to use this qualifying set of tires in the race at one point or another. But the regulations have been tweaked, bringing them more into alignment with the global SRO format.
Yeah, they have, and that means that you've got to do 3 full fuel stops here. So we saw a couple of the brands have a little bit of an advantage with fuel in Sonoma, and that kind of takes that off the table to a certain degree. If you had a lot of yellow, maybe guys could get those fuel stops done with just top-ups in the early part of the race. But this racetrack is certainly very demanding. 20 turns, 3.4 miles just over that. Lots of elevation change here, about 133 feet, and the majority of that comes in that really steep climb, really awesome turn 1 and brake zone there. You see it really kind of tightens up, and then you plow down through those S's, really high speed. Car's got to really have a lot of platform through there, as we call it, where you can transition and really cut and change direction very quickly. Traction is going to be a key off of turn 11, long back straightaway there, about 0.6 of a mile into that heavy brake zone. Then the stadium section, triple apexer. This racetrack throws everything at you here.
It's an awesome place. Drivers love coming here, and it's produced some really good racing over the years. We're about to see some rapid laps, as we've alluded to in qualifying, but we're on a brief hold right now. Some wildlife on the track at the moment that the track services group is going to have to deal with. So while we do that, we'll endeavor to hear from a couple of the second drivers that will go out for qualifying in a few moments. Let's reflect, though, if we could, Calvin, on what we saw in Sonoma. First of these new 3-hour races, new format for 2026. Again, tweaked slightly for this weekend. But what did you take away? Who came to the fore and rose to the occasion in Sonoma?
Well, I think certainly JMF, they had a really solid race there. They looked vulnerable in the mid part of the race, but I think there was an offset there with the Ferrari, for example, of Schandorf being on fresh tyres, while Michael Grenier was on used tyres in that third stint, call it, of the 4-stint race there. So it looked like he was vulnerable, but at the end of the day, once he got on that fresh rubber, he was the car to beat and ultimately grabbed the victory with Mackay Stevens. And they've been really strong here yesterday. Mackay Stevens did a quali sim and kind of like lit up the timesheets that, and had everyone surprised. And as Amanda said, Robbie Foley and company saying, then, boy, that Mercedes is the car to beat. So I expect them to pick up where they left off. And as we said, this is a very different format now with only 7 opportunities to score. So if they could suddenly win round 1, win round 2, it's really hard to play catch-up. We only got 5 opportunities to do that for the rest of the season for the competitors who are going to try and chase them down.
That is a total philosophical change for the championship this season with just, as you say, the 7 rounds as opposed to 13 a year ago. One of the stars of the show at Sonoma was Tom Sargent, and Amanda has found him.
Oh, that was definitely the car in Pro-Am to beat that weekend. You guys come off of a dynamic Sonoma, a little different here this weekend with all the changes. Has that muted the ability to have that strong lead, Tom?
I mean, probably a little bit. It's going to be hard to know at the moment. There's been a lot of changes to the format and what we're allowed to do. There's always going to be a little bit of strategy involved, so we'll see what we can do in the race, but I think it's going to come down to more of just a sheer pace race in the end.
We have a collective of qualifying times for driver 1 and driver 2 as it sets qualifying. How's Kyle Washington this morning?
He's good. It's a bit colder this morning, so that suits his conditions a lot more. I think our car is really good. Hopefully we have the ability to fight for the front. Unknown. He did really good in qualifying yesterday for GTA, so that's a bit of an advantage that we have where we can put him out, and hopefully he can replicate that today.
It was 2 years ago. We were standing on track right there, and you were wearing a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. Did those make it on this trip?
Unfortunately not. I've flown directly in from Europe, so I didn't have any space to bring anything, unfortunately. But hopefully we can be back next year and I can bring it back.
We have a really nice feature in the show that'll air about the GT Academy and your participation in it. How has that changed what racing is for you this season?
It's a really nice addition for the silver drivers and myself. It's something I really look forward to, something I hope to be able to achieve and win, because obviously being able to compete at Spa is one of the dreams. So very fortunate enough I could do it last year. I had a really good time, and to be able to have that opportunity to potentially go back is really cool. And it comes down to a lot as a driver and what we do in the car, and hopefully we had a really good start to the season, so hopefully we can do the same here at COTA.
You're going to hate me for this. Who'd you tell me you were worried about?
I said Riley Dickinson at the moment, but I mean the full silver class is extremely strong. He had a really good first round. It's his home track this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
I'm not sure there's a hotter GT driver at the moment than Tom Sargent. You look at the streak that he's on, 1 at Sonoma, 1 in the European Le Mans Series, won a couple of Carrera Cup races in a cameo appearance in Long Beach just last week. And a couple of weeks before that, he was on the podium at the 12 Hours of Sebring as well in his class. So it's amazing when you have the wind in your sails. Sometimes it feels like you can do no wrong, right? And you just need to capitalize, keep that running as long as possible.
Yeah, and I spoke to Kyle Washington about that. He's obviously Tom's teammate. He just said he's getting so much seat time. He's just going from strength to strength. He's a super talented young man, and he's already made his presence felt in this championship, and he's just going to go on to bigger and greater things. He's just got all of the tools in his tool chest there in terms of he's a really smart young man, super approachable, and when he gets behind the wheel of a Porsche at this point in his career, he's certainly super fast as well.
Well, it sounds like we're just about a minute away from getting the first of these 2 qualifying sessions underway here at Circuit of the Americas. Slight delay, but the issue with the wildlife on the track has been dealt with, and the engines are fired. As we've talked about a couple of times already, 2 15-minute sessions, and it's an aggregate, effectively, an average of the best lap times between each of the 2 drivers. And I really like that format, especially in the Pro-Am class, Calvin, where both drivers, including the amateur in the Pro-Am lineup, has a part to play in setting the grid.
Yeah, and that's typically where you see the biggest delta, the biggest difference in lap times is amongst the AMs. So that combination is really going to play a factor in how they line up on the grid. And then you've got different classes, obviously, with the dynamic there and how they mix together, certainly for the green flag. So that plays a part in how you want to strategize this race. As Tom Sargent said, there's a little less wiggle room in terms of the strategy with the new format and the new tweaks to the template for this 3-hour event here this afternoon. But I think we could potentially see, don't want to get too much into the race mode right now, but I think this afternoon we could see some teams make a really early pit stop to open up their windows moving forward.
It's been a discussion point, certainly, with the change and the tweaks to the rules coming into this weekend. Who will read the rules right and be able to strategize their way to the front? It'll be fun to watch over 3 hours this afternoon, but right now it's about these quick qualifying sessions, just 15 minutes each. Field making its way out here. Typically, this weekend we really haven't talked too much about cool racetrack, needing to build tire temp and brake temp, things like that, because it's been so hot. But actually this morning, that is maybe more of a focus than it's been all weekend.
I think so. I mean, talking to the drivers yesterday about how quickly these Pirelli P0s come in, they say basically, you know, one lap, just a warm-up lap, and then go for it. On the first session, before everything's hot, the tires and everything, maybe one additional lap. So lap 3 is what they're talking about in this first segment. And then maybe lap 2 when the car's already got heat, when you transfer to the second driver for that second 15-minute quali session. But to your point, a little bit less track temp here this morning, so that'll play a factor in how quickly these tires come alive. But I think it's all about being smart right now and just finding a nice clear space when those tires are in their sweet spot and absolutely nailing it. You don't want to keep pounding around because, again, these tires have to be used this afternoon.
That was an onboard look on this car with Dave Musial Jr., Dave 2.0, as he prefers to be called. One of the newcomers to the championship. So many fresh faces joining the series with the change to the 3-hour race format, and a huge Porsche contingent here this weekend as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of Porsches in this field, so they got the strength in numbers. Here's one of the BMWs with Brandon Vandals coming off a championship season last year. BMWs were really quick here last year, and I think a lot of that came from their ability to eat up the curbs through the S's. The car was very compliant there. That advantage has been taken away a little bit as we get into this qualifying session. Notice these big tire bundles just behind the apexes through the first half of the S's, and that allows everyone else to kind of use their normal setup and run through the curbs there versus the BMW just was able to bludgeon them and just kind of go straight through. So I think it's taken a little bit of the edge off the BMW's lap times, to be honest with you.
This is on board with Derek DeBoer in that BMW. Derek's been doing most of his racing overseas the last couple of years, but one race he did do was right here at Circuit of the Americas last year in the World Endurance Championships. Some recent track experience, and this is a return home for him. He really cut his teeth coming up the ladder in the SRO America paddock before going off to the European Le Mans Series, where he finished 3rd in the championship in 2024, did 5 World Endurance Championship races last year, and team boss Paul Sparta has been raving about his new acquisitions, Derek and Hampus Eriksson. Disappointing start to their season. They were involved in some contact audit they're making at Sonoma, struggled home to a 7th place result, but they don't think that tells the tale, and I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, I think so, and I think to your point about Paul Sparta really liking this driver lineup, there's immediate chemistry. They didn't know each other. Derek picked up Hampus from the airport, and they spent the race weekend together and became immediate friends. And I think to Derek DeBoer, he said he's really grown a lot since his foray over in Europe and in that World Endurance Championship. He knows what it takes. He knows his role as that bronze-rated driver, what he needs to do. And he's very disciplined, and he's minimizing the mistakes. He's being super consistent. That really sets up the table for the pro in the lineups to go and do their job.
A couple of Porsches here. Musial in front. This is JP Martinez, lives in Miami. He is the reigning Carrera Cup North America Pro-Am champion. Won that title on the strength of 6 wins last year for ACI Motorsports, but bit of a homecoming. He did some racing early in his career with RS1 in GT4 America. That was back in 2022. Returns to the Florida-based team and is full of confidence for the upcoming season. Then this car, which was certainly part of the story at Sonoma. Matias Perez Compact, the young man, the silver in the pro lineup, which is a requirement in GT World Challenge America. He's still learning his craft, but he's got a rapid teammate in Frederick Schandorf.
Yeah, nice chat with Freddie here this weekend. He's really effusive in learning these circuits. This is one that he'd not been to before. There's another track on the calendar that he's also got to get used to, but he's a really nice young man from Denmark, and he says his young teammate is learning a lot, but he's really quick. And again, he's just got to set up the table for Schandorf to go and do his job.
The driver in that position a year ago was Mackay Stevens. It was his first year of GT3 racing, now in year number 2, and the gap to his more experienced teammate Mikhail Grenier has come down. In fact, Stevens has the fastest lap of the weekend so far in GT World Challenge America practice, putting this car through its paces, a car that, as Amanda alluded to, many in the paddock feel like could be the favorite to win the race on pure pace at least.
Yeah, he put in a blistering lap, a high 2:03 there in that practice session. No one else was really in the same zip code, so we'll see what he can do in these much cooler conditions as well. Going to be a little bit more fuel on board for these first runs. You don't do any refueling in between the two sessions, so the car's a little bit heavier and theoretically a little bit slower than what driver 2 can put together.
First laps popping up on timing and scoring, but still quite a ways away from the ultimate pace we expect to see. Again, Mackay's lap, a 2:03.9 in practice 2. The best lap of this session so far, a 2:09 flat from Slade Stewart. So we'll see those times start to tumble. One thing about this long track, though, unlike Sonoma, when you got a few different bites at the apple here, this is a lengthy lap, over 2 minutes. And it's really about getting into the right position on track vis-a-vis the rest of the cars, making sure the tires are prepped and ready to go for that push lap, because you only might get 1 or 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a point of reference, the timing line is right before turn 19. There's the alternate start-finish line. So you're already deep into this first sector already. So just look out for that as you come through that triple apex through 18 and plunge down the hill. That's where the timing line is. Mackay Stevens just tripped that at a 2:04.693 to go to the top of the charts by just less than a second.
That's right, 9/10s back to Matias Perez compact, then Cameron Lawrence, who calls Austin, Texas home these days, 3rd quickest in the Mustang. Rothberg 4th for Turner in the BMW. Then the first of the Pro-Am class runners with Jason Daskalos. That's the team car to Mackay Stevens. And talking to the team, Jason's felt really comfortable, really confident with his race car this weekend. This was a good track for him a year ago with a different team.
Yeah, with the CRP, they finished second. He and Isaac Sherman in one of the events here. Is obviously a doubleheader in years past, so they had a really strong weekend. Still frustrated. He's got a smile on his face, but frustrated about what happened there at Sonoma when he had the issue on pit lane. Just some electronic gremlins there, and came down pit lane and got it wrong with the speed, and then he was too fast to his box. When he released, the timing was off, and suddenly there was an issue there as well. So, but he's got a really strong teammate, great team, and he's loving life right now.
Watching Michael Clark put his Porsche through the paces. A little traffic just ahead as he crosses that alternate start-finish line. Puts in the 7th fastest lap of the session, 3rd fastest in the class. Jason Daskalos on a decent run, but back to his teammate Mackay Stevens, who in purple sector 1, but gave up some time in sector 2. So he's going to have to dig deep here in the 3rd sector to improve on his best lap so far, that 2:04.6.
Yeah, a little bobble there in sector 2 somewhere, because you'd think the tires are still very much in their sweet spot. He comes down the hill, yeah, and he does improve a little bit, lowers the number to a 2:04.36.
Here is Daskalos. Now with the JMF team this year, similar paint scheme, new teammate though as well alongside with Lorcan Hannafin. Really excited about the opportunity to branch out in his racing career and come stateside. Cameron Lawrence just tripped the timing beacon to go P2.
That's a really good lap. Yeah, they'd been struggling for pace. They said the car didn't feel good initially in free practice 1, made some big changes, got it a little bit more dialed in. They said the car feels but doesn't have any pace, but right now he is under the 205 bracket. Second man in the time cheats right now at a 204.961. That's a really nice lap there for the locally based team.
Justin Rothberg, reigning Pro-Am champion, moved up to the Pro class for this year. And it's a new burden on his shoulders, having to carry the load to a greater degree than he has in the past. 4th quickest overall and 4th out of the 5 Pro class entries.
His compact's on a really good lap here. Brilliant first sector, quicker than Mackay Stevens for this Ferrari. So this is really demonstrating the potential pace of this race car this weekend. So everyone said the Mercedes is the car to beat, but maybe when suddenly everyone's showing their true hand here, this Ferrari could be really, really quick. Thinking about there's typically a delta between he and Freddie Shandorf. So see what he can do here as he comes down that back straightaway. He'll click through sector 2 momentarily, but 41.578 first sector is purple. Decent middle sector, not great.
Trending the wrong direction now, 6/10 of a second on the wrong side of that equation. Cameron Lawrence also not on a lap that would see him improve. Daskalos in 5th overall, though, he's improving on his best lap. Doesn't need to find too much to challenge Rosberg for 4th overall and make his way onto the 2nd row of the grid. See if we can keep that pace going as we continue to ride with Matthias Perez compact. Just one last bit of this quarter to go. There's that start-finish line here for this qualifying session. He does find a little bit of time, and compact is 3rd quickest, 7/10 off of Stevens.
Yeah, I think if it had a better middle sector, that could have popped him to the front row. Unfortunately, he's got to try and dig and see if there's still some energy left in those tires. They're going to peak to their threshold pretty quickly, and I think here we're seeing the strategy with teams maybe bailing early and saving those tires for the race.
That's a great point. The fact that you have to run these tires in the race, and chances are it's going to be a fairly lengthy stint with the way the rules are.
Essentially, what you're looking at, Ryan, excuse me, you're going to have 4 stints to this race, 2 stints per driver. 1 stint has to be on your qualifying set. Then you'll have a fresh set of Pirelli P0s to go as well. So you'd imagine that they'll use the qualifying set initially, switch to your second driver. He'll use his quali set, then back to fresh for the end of the race.
Not ideal here. Musial tripping over Schreibman a little bit. Schreibman quickest in the AM class at the moment. And they do have company here this weekend. Lone Star Racing making a cameo appearance. Jay Logan went out and set a lap time, but not a representative one. Came right into the pits right away, and I think they might be playing that tire game, not really putting a whole lot of stock in qualifying. Go out, do a lap, come back in, and preserve those Pirelli P0s.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also got to look and see how you're going to stack up in the overall field. You got the dynamic of different classes, and it's a combined qualifying time that sets the grid. So there's a lot of little wrinkles to this in terms of how you want to think about strategizing for the big picture of the race as well.
Schreibman and Osnegri, one out in that season-long duel with Dollarhide Racing for the AM Class Championship last year. The Dollarhide team now running in the Pro Class with their Mustang. Here's Compact, who did do a better middle sector this time, but first sector wasn't as good as the last time by. I wonder if you put the sectors together, his best sectors, if it doesn't turn into an ideal lap. He comes to the line, still 3rd quickest, doesn't improve.
Yeah, I think the potential is there. So you have what's called a theoretical lap, and if you put all 3 sectors together, I think you could have potentially been there. The other thing I've really not seen, I anticipated, was when you're coming through turn 18 is just to send the race car. You don't have to set up for turn 19 if it's your last lap, for example. Just really send it through there, pick up the throttle early, don't worry about your line, just try and get to that alternate start-finish line a little bit quicker, and obviously trim a bit off your lap time. Talking to a couple of drivers who tried that in practice, they felt there was a 10th or 2 available to them. So maybe when we get more of the pros on board for this second qualifying session, we'll have to look for that.
New team to the championship. Welcome to Rebel Rock Racing. Staple in GT4 racing in IMSA over the last decade plus, but making their first foray into GT3 racing. Frank Depew and Robin Liddell with this beautiful Aston Martin. Delayed the start to their season a little bit, but good to have them here, and the anticipation is they'll run the rest of the season.
Yeah, they had a few dramas here on the first day with some issues initially with the transponder. They had some braking issues, vibration in the car, then they exploded a gearbox in the second session. It's not an ideal start, but they did test at Sebring, which is essentially their home track. They're based out of DeLand, Florida, so they're looking forward to that. This is really almost like a glorified test session for these this team and the drivers to just go through the motions of a SRO weekend with a GT3 car. But great to see them finally step up. We've been talking about it for a while. You got 2 cars in their camp in terms of that car, which was the ex-Jason Bell Racers Edge car. They also got a car from Europe that they purchased from TF Sport.
Right now, Aston on a bit of a high in GT World, having won at the Paul Ricard 6-hour race in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup a couple of weeks back. Looks like just about everyone is either calling it quits or not improving in a significant way here at the tail end of this session. But what's worth remembering is this is not everything. This is just the first leg of qualifying. And that 6/10 of a second gap Stevens has to the rest of the pro field, that's going to be very difficult to overcome when you put the 2 times together.
Yeah, I think the real key there, I think Shandorf could jump up and put that Ferrari P2 overall. I think maybe Robbie Foley when he jumps on board the 29. I think the 6 car is the car that might be in threat a little bit. Cam Lawrence and Alex Sedgwick are typically pretty evenly matched, so if one of those other pros can suddenly cut into the low fours in their car, like Shandorf or Foley, that could potentially juggle the grid positions a little bit.
Solid qualifying effort for Musial. Just his second weekend
Really
racing
good
in this level. To be second quickest in Pro-Am, ahead of Kyle Washington, who did find a little speed on the last lap. 8th overall, 3rd in class. This car's still pushing. Todd Perriott with another brightly colored Porsche liveries. We have a host of them here this weekend all season long. Todd right now down at 19th overall, 13th in class, just in his best first sector.
Yeah, that's really good. And tell you what, Washington's lap, that was important. That really gives Tom Sargent an opportunity to lay down a fast one and keep GMG up in the sharp end. They had an awesome race at Sonoma, and Sargent was absolutely flying, cutting his way through the field, but they were coming from deeper in the pack that day.
Keeping an eye on this. Middle sector was good, if not great, for Todd. Needs to find quite a bit if he's going to make any impact here. Jumping up, Michael Clark still out on a lap here as well. He just took the checkered flag, did not improve. So 15th overall here in this first segment of qualifying. Now, Stevens was the quickest in the session. 0.6 of a second further back is where you'll find Cameron Lawrence, and Amanda has caught up with the Ford driver.
And as you guys have been talking to, right at his home track too, but I know that there was so much effort put into getting to this point right here. What is reflection of what that Mustang was just able to do?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's put in a lot of work this week. We didn't start off on our best foot, you know, on our home track, so we were a little disappointed. So everybody's been here late, working hard. You know, Alex and I have been going through all the data and video and trying to clean up our end as well. But everyone's just done their job all week. The car's driving the best it's driven so far. You know, it's always fun to go out on low fuel and new tires and kind of let it rip and see what it has in it. So we're happy with that lap time after where we've been throughout the week, and we'll see how it holds up.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Well, he'll be happy to have at least found something, and yeah, to that end, we'll see where they end up here after the second leg coming up here shortly. After the first 15 minutes of qualifying, though, this is the way they stack up with Stevens 0.6 of a second to the good. That will be difficult to topple in the second segment. Cam Lawrence, Matias Perez-Companc, Justin Rothberg, all pro class entries in the top 4. Then Daskelos quickest of the Pro-Ams. Talk to that team, and they're keen to maybe try and get 2 wins on a weekend in their respective classes. They've not done that before, having not run multiple cars in this championship previously. Usual, really solid effort. Martinez as well. Brayton Williams, new co-driver this weekend with Daniel Morad, just ahead of Kyle Washington, completing the top 10. Down at the bottom, did get confirmation from Amanda that the Lone Star team was playing the tire game, so they must be content to start out at the back and preserve their P0s for the race in their debut weekend of the season. Any standouts to you, Cal?
I think Musial Jr. was a really nice lap. I think Daskelos, as you said, JMF looking for a sweep of the weekend with both classes. I mean, he's really set the table nicely for Hannafin to go and do what he can do, and he's been super impressive. He's learning these circuits for the first time, so he'll be up against it. But I think that Pro-Am class is going to be awesome here today. I'm really interested to see currently was position 2 through 4 if there's any switching around with the 12 and the 6 and the 29 as Mackay Stevens debriefs with his team.
And that was a job well done for Mackay. Car seems really strong here at this track. There was some talk coming in that it might be a Mercedes type of racetrack. We've seen that in the past. That's carried over at least through the first segment of qualifying. Less than a minute away from segment 2. Here's some of the drivers you'll see on track. Mikael Grenier, Fred Schandorf, Robbie Foley, Daniel Morad, Tom Sargent, Hampus Eriksson, Jan Halen, and on the list goes. It's a really good cast of characters, but let's hear from some more that participated in Q1.
You can imagine he had a giant smile when we got over here. And Jason, I just said to you, I feel like this Mercedes was made for you. You said, I'm having so much fun. What are your expectations on your co-driver right now?
Honestly, it's the team. This team is incredible. And to be with a team like this and all the engineering and everything that goes into this, it's such a blessing for me. And Lorcan's been amazing as a driver coach, and he's just a young stud. So just super excited. Hopefully he puts it up at the top and get clean through turn one and get through the race.
Good luck to Lorcan Hannafin. I remember Jason Daskalo saying in Sonoma, the kid is fast, but I did catch up with Jason, and he wanted to talk about his miscue that he had in Sonoma. He's still being hard on himself, but I would think a qualifying effort like that helps those memories disappear.
I imagine so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd call him a middle-aged stud, Jason Daskalos. So, yeah, really nice qualifying run there, and just that little faux pas that he had at Sonoma where he came into the pits in second gear, and obviously the pit lane speed limit doesn't run at that number, and kind of unraveled from there. So he's looking to have a nice, clean weekend. He certainly set the stage nicely with that qualifying performance, and Hannafin, as he said, has been really quick. So it's going to be a fun one to see how these drivers go. Cars are a little bit lighter as they burned off some of that fuel load that was set up for driver number one.
Now there is Hannafin aboard the Mercedes right there. Again, pole sitters in the season opener at Sonoma, so trying to make it 2 for 2 in qualifying, even if the race didn't go quite according to plan. Just 9th place in that first round of the championship. But again, Daskalos has been quick here in the past, runner-up in race 2 1 year ago. Cars on the outlaps. Mikhail Grenier leads the freight train into the stadium section and has a nice buffer in hand. Does that change the approach a little bit, knowing you've got 0.6 of a second over the next closest car?
Yeah, I think he's really got it all under control here. He can afford just to really take his time, don't have any high risk. I mean, just put together a really solid lap. You don't need a blistering lap, you just need a really solid lap. And the cars are warmed up, so that makes a difference in terms of what we saw with those initial laps in that first qualifying segment, Ryan, because you've got to get the brakes and everything up to temp and get the driveline where it needs to be. These cars have been warmed up, and then you're throwing brand new tires at it for driver number 2, so they should be able to do one lap here. I expect lap number 3 would be the lap that Grenier would be focused on, so we're into lap number 2 here, but as he comes through that triple apex, or I think he'd be starting to think about putting a lap together.
On board look here with Hampus Eriksson, brother of Indy 500 winner Marcus Eriksson. Hampus, new recruit to Random Vandals, coming off of a championship season last year at Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. He's racing there as well this year, a dual program for Hampus as he looks to defend that title, but also branch out into GT3 racing. He's also branching out in his home life, no longer living in his brother's basement, just moved into a new townhouse in Indianapolis.
It's about living in your brother's shadow, that's literal, right?
Yeah, but Marcus is here supporting younger brother, just loves to talk about what Hampus is doing in his career, supporting him in any way. And I think there's a pretty good chance we'll hear from Marcus at one point or another during the 3-hour race later on this afternoon. And I suspect he'll want to talk more about Hampus's driving than his own racing season.
They seem to have a wonderful relationship, the two boys do. So here supporting his young brother, and I think he's got an exciting program there with Random Vandals, and we talk about Derek DeBoer doing a really solid job, and I think together they're going to make some things happen and look for podiums throughout the course of this season.
Here's the Mustang now with Alex Sedgwick, the British driver, behind the wheel. What are we seeing here, Calvin? Everyone kind of shuffling around trying to find some space on the track?
Yeah, basically trying to find some space, be able to get into a rhythm. And you're not far away from the ultimate start-finish line here. This is essentially turn 13, 14, and you're looking at the exit of 18. So you don't want to be bottled up behind someone, and he's trying to do it, but the driver in front of you is trying to do the same thing. So it gets a little bit awkward at this stage of the game. Do you now try and pass him, and then he resists, and then you're fumbling all over each other. So critical moment here, because the tires should really be in their sweet spot now as they get ready to ramp it up and go.
Coming up on 5 minutes gone by in this rapid moving second leg of qualifying for the second round of the season. Year opened, of course, at Sonoma Raceway, now here at Coda. Up next, a trip to Sebring, then a return of Road Atlanta to the calendar, Road America, Barber Motorsports Park, and the Indy 8-hour to close out the season in 2026. But the here and now is this overcast day in Austin, Texas. Temperatures starting to climb a little bit, high humidity. That should help these cars make some downforce. We'll see what kind of pace they can extract on the lower fuel load here in the second leg of qualifying. This is Andy Lee. Riley Motorsports is the team. Slade Stewart was out in Q1, and Andy Lee on a prep lap here looking to start to push shortly.
And this is a car that he knows already. He campaigned with this car early in the 2025 season alongside Elias Sabo, so that's the same race car. Obviously not the start they were looking to, and he never got any racing action at Sonoma with an early incident for Slade there in that final hairpin turn, but they're looking to rebound here this weekend.
Now starting to see some push laps, perhaps. Mikhail Grenier on the move, just did the best middle sector. Tom Sargent not too far behind through Sector 1 or through Sector 2, but Fred Schandorf has the quickest pace now through Sector 1 here in this session. Not a surprise to see the GT3 ace, who has been fast everywhere he's turned up, go quick here once again with the AF Corsa squad.
Yeah, and he and Grenier are very close in terms of those first couple of sector times. Here comes Grenier through that triple apex. It's going to click a lap across there. You see the alternate sign right there, and he goes to the top.
2:03.592. That is the fastest lap we've seen yet here across the two sessions of qualifying. Grenier, then Sargent, now Jan Halen up to third in the session. Schandorf in second place. After his good lap, that was a 2:03, but on aggregate now, a combined 2:04.536. And so now what you're seeing on the timing and scoring pylon left-hand side of the screen, these are the combined times. So the average of the best lap in Q1 with the best lap in Q2.
You've got three drivers in the 2:03 range, those being Grenier, Schandorf, and Tom Sargent. But obviously, when you combine those with the earlier run by their teammates, that's what's setting up the graphic there and setting up the grid so far.
Telitz was pretty quick here early on. Shares this car with Todd Coleman, Archangel Motorsports, the team. Another team that had a pretty solid outing at Sonoma.
Telitz on a bit of a high, coming off a brilliant GT3 victory on the streets of Long Beach just 1 week ago. So he'll try and carry that momentum into this race weekend as well. Different race car, of course, but a win is a win, and that certainly gets your mood and your confidence sky high.
He said solid at Sonoma. The result wasn't great, but they had good pace there. Certainly something to give them some optimism. Meanwhile, Robbie Foley now starting to put the Turner car through its paces. Rothberg did his job. He kept himself and this car relatively close to, especially second and third in their class, and now Robbie Foley can make an impact.
Yeah, and a dynamic first sector there for Robbie, so if he can put this lap together and finish it off, this could be a really good one and really fire him up the timesheets here in combination with Justin's time.
We'll know pretty soon just how much of a difference it will make coming through this section to that alt start finish line. Robbie Foley across the line. Didn't update, so hard to tell you where he jumped to. Oh, and we've got a red flag out on the track now as well. That's really going to interrupt this session.
Yeah, that really hurts Foley because that basically disrupted his lap there.
Wow, he was feet, if not inches away
Literally,
from crossing the line, and that would have really made them jump up. Understand we've got wildlife on track for the second time already here this morning.
That can really scupper your chances depending on what you did with the tires and everything like that. So that is really, really not ideal for Robbie Foley here.
No, because on combined times, they would start 17th overall and a far cry from the rest of their class. And that is not at all representative of the pace of that car.
You are allowed to adjust tire pressures here, so we'll have to see what the team thinks about where he's at with those when he gets set to go again. But he probably cannot believe that, was looking at his predictive lap time and suddenly it was scuppered there with that red flag.
And that could not have been closer. Oh. The timing of the red flag with the completion of that
I was
lap.
confused. I'm looking at I was more looking at the the timing screen than I was Robbie's lap, and then suddenly what happened there, because he was ready to jump up the charts.
But effectively, you cannot set your best lap if there's a red flag condition in the session. The red flag triggers, and automatically any laps that were underway and not yet completed get disallowed, no matter how close to that finish line you might be.
Yeah, and you can see the consequence there.
Yeah.
He's down in 17th position, and we were looking for him to be fighting between 2 through 4. So that is the consequence of that red flag and the timing of it for Foley.
Well, we'll see how this gets dealt with. If there's a chance to go back out and maybe put in a quick lap and get some of that track position back, we will see.
Clock runs. This is
Right.
really going to be tough because it's going to take you essentially best part of 2 minutes even to get round to that alternate start-finish line to trigger a lap.
Now, who are the big winners in all of this? I would say Zach Vanier and Michael McCann for McCann Racing. That effectively got them a spot in the pro class, up to 4th overall. Good lap from Vanier to help get them into that position. Hannafin and Daskalos, could it be 2 straight poles to start the year? Sargent and Washington would start 2nd in that class, continuing on their run of form. And Aaron Thielitz and Todd Coleman would be content enough with a 4th place start if that's the way that it pans out.
Yeah, and I think for Sargent, he laid down a 203.9, and on aggregate, he's a couple of tenths back, so he'd need to find 4 tenths essentially on his individual lap to push them ahead of the current pole sitters, the 27 JMF car with Hannafin and Daskalos, so they'll probably be pretty content with that. And that was really set out by Kai Washington getting that last lap flyer there in that first qualifying segment. So it's not so much the big winners as the big losers right now, and that's Robbie Foley and Justin Rothberg, just by electing to go out a little bit later than everyone else. And it was all set up nicely. Robbie had put together a brilliant lap there, and just the timing of it, that's racing.
Well, Race Control is hoping that within about a minute they would be able to release the cars again. The trouble is, that would leave us with 2 minutes on the clock. It's over a 2-minute lap at full chat. This would not be at full song. I'm not sure anybody
Well, you just
can
got to
get
start
around.
the lap. I mean, you just got to get over to that alternate line to start the lap. So the key is getting out here and making sure you got space. So triggering the lap is going to be the key. I think it's going to be a 1-lap fly here before time runs out.
Right.
So get over to turn 18. That will start the lap. Then time will run out during that final lap, and then you can finish off. So Foley's under a lot of pressure. Daniel Morad as well. It's not set a representative time aboard the number 9 machine, so he's got a lot of work to do as well.
Riley Dickinson too. Here, Tom Sargent called him out. It's certainly a contender in that GT Academy Award battle. Expect Dickinson to be quick here at his home track.
Foley's got trouble. He's got a ton of traffic in front of him, so he's got to manage this. He needs to be told, you're fine, you're going to get to that ultimate start-finish line with some time in hand, so if you need to, back it up. You know everyone in front of you is going to be going for it. There's going to be no games playing. That's the good news. You know that. There's no curveball there with people slowing down to try and find space. Once they get over to turn 18, it's going to be full bore until they finish that lap off.
He's done pretty well to create that gap. Vanier looks quite impatient behind. He probably needs that same message, maybe just back it off. No need to be under the rear wing of the BMW. You'll have time to come around and start this last flyer. Picking up any pace on the final lap here. Here is Dickinson looking for some clean space on the track, going to the inside of Jan Halen. A race is broken out here in qualifying because this is going to be a crucial 1-lap dash.
Yeah, they're not on a timed lap just yet, so they've got to get to that alternate start-finish line, which is between 18 and 19 to start the lap, and this is where you're going to start to manage things. What does Foley do? I think he's got to back off even further. He doesn't need anyone within 4 to 5 seconds of him. You can still get a little bit of an aero wash through the high-speed S's when you're that close, so he needs to back it down. I think he's doing that in the background, as you can see.
A couple of awkward moments as drivers jockey for position. They know the significance of this. They know the significance of trying to find the right gap so as not to compromise their own lap. Flying laps are underway now for the final time in this qualifying session. Grenier on provisional pole. Schandorf would line up, or that car at least, would line up on the outside of the front row. It's the Ford of Dollarhide Racing in 3rd. McCann Racing's Porsche 4th. That's how they stand for now. We'll see how they stand in 3.5 miles.
Yeah, and this is going to be a flat-out sprint to the alternate start-finish line. This is the lap that could set their grid position, could solidify where you're currently at, or for some of those who are on the back foot, maybe leap them up the timing charts here.
A few cars not taking part in this, including Aaron Thielitz in the McLaren, Oz Negri in the M-Class Ferrari, also Robin Liddell in the Aston for Rebel Rock, and Mark Austin for Lone Star.
Sargent was absolutely using that car out there, arms and elbows through those high-speed S's. He feels he's got a few tenths to find, but he's got to find a significant chunk to move up the timing boards. His checkered flag is out, but this lap will count.
Sargent really needs to push. You said it, down 2/10 on aggregate. Needs to find basically double that here. And it was not the best opening sector. We'll see if it's good enough.
Look at Hannafin's first sector, really strong. Could solidify that current pole position that they sit on.
Here he comes, young British driver. Sargent not too far away either.
Bit of understeer there for Hannafin as he went through turn 12. You can see the front end searching for grip.
What a wave of momentum Tom Sargent is riding right now. Can he help deliver a pole position in the Pro-Am class, or can Lorcan Hannafin hang on, finishing the job that Jason Dascalo started? Here they come toward that timing line. Let's check the times as they cross the line. Grenier solidifies his position at the top. Hannafin jumps to 4th overall. Sargent does not have enough to challenge, and now has a car between himself and his closest pursuer, although Hannafin did not head to the pit lane there.
Yeah, that could be a problem. There could be a penalty for that. So checkered flags out. He needed to get to pit lane. So Hannafin's lap was huge there. He'd found a couple of tenths.
Yeah, but you're supposed to make the dive to pit lane right away.
That's gone away. Track limits for car 27 in turn 12, so lap time is invalidated.
Wow. So Hannafin, though, still would be on pole position on the strength of his first flying lap. But how about Robbie Foley? He got the job done, Cal.
Wow.
Had one lap to produce, and he drugged that BMW up to 3rd.
Yeah, and that's where I thought he could get, right in the mix of 2nd through 4th at 2:03.79. So it's about 2/10 off of that fast lap of Mikel Grenier, but a superb response by Robbie Foley when the pressure was on.
Checkered flag is out, and that brings it in to a staccato Q2 session, at the end of which JMF Motorsports is at the top with their Mercedes. Mikel Grenier, who we heard from at the top of the show, Mackay Stevens by a combined half a second over the next closest car in class. That's the Ferrari from AF Corsa. Mackay Stevens got the job started with his strong first segment, and Amanda has caught up with him now down in the pits.
And yet again, it's that JMF Mercedes on pole here to kick off the second race of this season. And Mackay, I was talking to Mick while you were in the car at the start of the session of how you guys are the Mercedes that drivers feel that they are chasing. How much confidence does that build between this team?
Well, as we spoke last weekend, and as we will continue to remain as humbly confident, because you never know what's in store for us, but Mick and I are pushing each other, as is every member of this team, to be the best individuals that we can. It's a privilege to be here. We'll keep driving forward.
It is a double podium. It will be the other sister car on the Pro-Am pole. Mackay Stevens and Mick Grenier, the Rova pole position winners here at COTA.
Outstanding performance from the whole team to get both cars in the top 6 overall. As it stands, again, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Hannafin doing the extra lap after the checkered came out, but nevertheless, you can't question the pace of the 2 JMF cars.
No, they look super strong, and that's what everyone anticipated. But the race is going to be long. It's going to be hot, a little bit different conditions this afternoon as the temperatures ramp up and soar up into the high 80s, low 90s for race time.
Really close there between 2nd and 3rd. That lap from Foley, that was epic because they were going to be in a world of trouble if he wasn't able to deliver.
Yeah, he delivered it and he managed it. It was all about getting that gap in front of his race car so he could put that lap together there.
How tight is it in the Pro-Am class at the very front? We're talking fractions of a tenth of a second there in the first 3 cars.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful race. I can't wait to get going.
And we should mention as well that in the AM class, AF Corsa with Jay Schreiben and Oz Negri, they take that class pole ahead of the Lone Star Mercedes. Good to have a little opposition in the AM class for the weekend. Several others that have a tall task ahead of them. Random Vandals down in 17th. That's not where Derek DeVore and Hampus Eriksson expected to be. Riley Dickinson wasn't able to make an impact there in that second round of qualifying either. Kelly Moss in general further down the order than they would have imagined, but we'll sort it out when we go racing later on this afternoon for 3 hours at Circuit of the Americas.